Hey everyone, I'm Richard Byrne and welcome to another episode of Practical EdTech Live. This is episode number 19, which means I've been doing this for 19 plus weeks because I've missed a couple of weeks in there. Maybe it's like week number 22 or 23 of doing this. Anyway, I need to start today with a couple of little updates about free tech for teachers and what's been going on with that. Some of you may have seen my blog post earlier today about why I'm truncating the RSS feed and the email feed for free tech for teachers. The reason I'm doing that is that I'm having a heck of a time getting a spammy website. If you want to look at it, it's tinsera.info if you want to send them a nasty message and get them to stop doing it. I'm having a lot of trouble with them stealing all my blog posts, and so one of the things I'm doing right now is truncating the RSS feed to make it harder for them to steal the blog posts from me. It doesn't prevent them from doing it, but it makes it harder for them, so that's why I'm doing that. So I apologize to those of you who are used to the full RSS feed. Unfortunately, that's the only recourse I have at the moment. I'm pursuing some other legal recourses right now, but it's just taking up a lot of my time, unfortunately. All right, so let's go ahead and now that I've cleared that up a little bit, I hope, let's go ahead and get started with some of the questions that I've received in advance. And if you have any questions of your own you'd like to submit, feel free to do so either on the YouTube channel or on the Facebook channel. I am happy to answer questions on the fly, as well as these that have been submitted in advance. So the first one comes from Sarah, who says, "Hello, Richard. I have a teacher that was at a Google conference 2 years ago and saw a tool that she'd like to put to use now. I'd like to pick your brain on it. She's looking for a timeline tool that works with fiction stories. It plots out events from the story on the map. She couldn't remember the fiction story that was used as an example. I hope to hear back. Thanks, Sarah." So Sarah, I'm not exactly sure what tool that person saw 2 years ago at the conference, but I will take a stab at it and say that they might have seen Timeline.js. You can find that it's Timeline.js, J as in Jacob, S as in Sandy, and that will let students map out anything really, any information they want to map out on a timeline, so that they can have the timeline component and they can have a mapping component on the same page. That might have been the tool that you saw used. Being at a Google Summit, you may have also seen someone talking about Google Lit trips, which you could put together with Google Earth or Google Maps. So that's kind of my best guess at it, at what that teacher saw. So I'd check it out. By the way, on my YouTube channel, I have a series of tutorials on how to use Timeline.js to map out stories. Next question came from Jennifer, who says, "Thanks for the great advice via Twitter. I find your posts to be very helpful." Thanks, Jennifer. "My K-12 district is the middle of one-to-one and plan to pilot devices for K-3 students this year. Do you have any advice about what works for this age group? We chose Chromebooks for 4 to 12, but are open to other devices for our little guys." Jennifer, I'd probably say if you already have Chromebooks at 4 to 12, go with Chromebooks at the K3. Your students are certainly capable of learning to type at that age. Many of the Chromebooks, or I shouldn't say many, but there's about a dozen Chromebooks now that support the use of Android apps. So if you were considering Android tablets, you might want to consider looking at some of the Chromebooks that support Android apps. One of them is the Acer R11, which is what I personally use. Really like that device, and it's touchscreen. So consider getting a touchscreen Chromebook. They're not terribly expensive. As I said last week or the week before, you'll find touchscreen Chromebooks in the $250 to $300 range. So less than an iPad and more flexible than an iPad. So that's probably where I would go. So next question coming in. Let's see who's. If you're on the Facebook live feed, feel free to put your questions in there too. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. All right. Next question comes from another Jennifer. Hello, Mr. Byrne. I read this article about Google Drive changing. Do you know anything about this information? I've attached the article. So the article that Jennifer is referring to is a horribly written article from CNET, or a horribly misleading article from CNET. The writing was fine, but it was misleading. The title particularly was misleading and made the rounds on social media last week, and that is, "Update Now, Google Drive dies next March." Google Drive is not dying. Google Drive is not going away. I made a video about this last week, and I shared it with Jennifer, and anyone else who wants to find it, you can find it on my YouTube channel. Google Drive is not going away. You can still access Google Drive at drive.google.com. You'll still be able to do that. What's going away is the Google Drive desktop app for Mac and PC. That's being replaced by a new desktop app that's called Backup and Sync. That's what's changing. Backup and Sync is supposed to be faster, and we'll be able to back up everything that you have on your computer if you wanted to. But if you've never used the Google Drive desktop app before, don't worry. Nothing is changing. Nothing's going to change for you. If you just go to drive.google.com to use your Google Drive, nothing's changing for you. What's changing is for people who have been using the desktop app, that's getting replaced by Backup and Sync. Hopefully that clears that up. All right. Next question. Oh, this one I took the name out of to protect the person. Not really protect the person, but to protect their identity, I guess, by request. I've been asking around and still can't get an answer to this. I've been using Twitter for a long time. I've never had any problems when I want to tag someone. As soon as I started typing their name, their handle would pop up. But all of a sudden, that is not working. I start typing and try to tag someone, but their handles don't pop up. And who remembers everyone's handle? Not me. So I have to stop and look them all up. So frustrating. Can you help? So actually the solution to this problem, I tried to replicate it on my computer. I tried to replicate it on my phone. Couldn't replicate the problem this person was talking about. The solution ended up being to sign out of Twitter, clear the browser cache, and sign back in. And that fixed the problem. And that's just good advice because that fixes a lot of problems. If you think a site should be doing something that it's always done before and isn't doing anymore, and no one else can replicate the problem, try logging out, clearing your browser cache, and logging back in and seeing if it works. On a similar note, if you're using a website and you can't get it to work properly, or if you've used a website for a long time or a web tool for a long time and you can't access it one day, go to downforeveryone or justme.com, downforeveryone or justme.com, to see if the website is actually down for everyone or if it's just you and your computer. And if it's just you and your computer, you'll want to check to see that your network's not filtering it. You also want to check to see that, again, you may need to clear your browser cache and history. Okay. Hey, there we go. Hello. Tip that works in a lot of places. Okay. Where was I? This one came from Simon, who says, how do I put safety in place with YouTube to minimize the risk of students searching for inappropriate videos? Are there filtering steps or tools to install? Yeah, and so actually Simon's question inspired a blog post yesterday about YouTube filtering. This can be done by your network administrator or your G Suite for Education domain administrator. He or she can force strict filtering on YouTube for your users when they're logged in. That person can also enforce filtering on managed devices. So if all your kids are issued Chromebooks by the school, they can install strict filtering for YouTube. In fact, I was at a school this summer that had done that on their network, and it really limits the number of videos that pop up. So check that out. And again, I put some links to Google's official statements and directions on that in yesterday's blog post. All right. And if there aren't any other questions, I have one last one. Hold on. So again, feel free to put any questions in the live. Last one comes from Jenna, and I intentionally left this one for last. Jenna says, I adore all the work you do, and the information you pull together for teachers is incredible. Thanks, Jenna. I was wondering if you had attended any tech conferences in New England, and if so, if you had suggestions on those to attend or avoid. Yeah, so I've been to every state tech conference in New England, living in Maine, and I've spoken at all but one of them, I believe. So I wouldn't say to avoid any of them. They've all been good. I'm a little biased. I live in Maine, so I'm going to give a shout out to ACTEM, ACTEM, the ACTEM conference, which is happening in Augusta, Maine, in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from, 1 month. 1 month from today. The ACTEM conference is great. They always have great keynote speakers. I keynoted it 1 year. This year, the keynote speakers are Ken Shelton and Rushton Hurley. You've probably seen Rushton's work at nextvistaforlearning.org. Check it out. Ken is also phenomenal, and I've worked with both gentlemen for many years now. In fact, we were all in the same, I think we all met at the same Google Teacher Academy many years ago. So check it out, the ACTEM conference, great event coming up in a month. So if you're in New England, put that on your calendar. Bonus if you're from away and you want to come up, the leaves should be beautiful by then. So that's that. All right. So if I don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Thanks for joining me. I'll do this again next week. As always, send me an email, richardbyrne@freetechforteachers.com, and I'll be happy to include your question in next week's episode. And I'll also answer it in email as well. So thanks, everyone. I'll see you online somewhere soon, I hope. Goodbye, Facebook. Goodbye, YouTube.